Charles. Now, let's welcome Sandy to the programme then. And another piece of legislation, the Data Use and Access Bill. We've talked about it many times, and Claire was just, Sandy, talking about its precursor under the previous Tory government. And of course, although some of the features of that previous legislation have moved into the legislation that we've just been talking about, the Data Use and Access Bill covers a lot of the same ground. So this is not really an example of change, of the change agenda, as far as I can see, other than we're speeding things up.
Really, in January, that we managed to literally kick the Climate and Nature Bill down the road a little bit. It's now going to be reviewed in July, I believe. Even though it did have the support of about 1,700 very powerful supporters, so due to public concern, and I think people contacting their members of parliament who would listen, I mean, there are some good members of parliament who did oppose this enough for it to be put back till July. But we're constantly playing this game of whack-a-mole, and the latest mole that deserves a huge whack is this Data Use and Access Bill, which has now gone through several stages. It's and it's now in the House of Commons I think it's at the committee stage. It's a 270-page government, bill, which is a lot to read. Actually, it's a massive amount to read, and it's been snuck in under the radar. And it's a massive power grab of our data. Peter Kyle is the MP that's pushing it. He's the Secretary of State for Science, Innovation, Technology, and is a champion cheering on the potential loss of your privacy and freedom. He says that we have an outdated approach to data, which is holding Britain's economy back, and this bill will take the brakes off unleashing a new era of wealth and opportunity for all. Well, is it really? I mean, it's completely the opposite, really, because it might benefit the very few at the top, who are selling all this data on, but the life for all of us will be pretty much a digital prison where we'll be effectively spied on for eternity. If passed, this bill could change all of our lives, the lives of our children, grandchildren, forever. I mean, it's quietly slipping effortlessly through our legislative process, whilst we're all distracted, obviously, with the media circus that's going on right before our very eyes. It's huge government overreach, and taking a deeper look at it, it means implementing legislation that could fundamentally change how data is accessed, stored, and used without genuine public consultation or awareness. It's already been through the House of Lords, and it's only just got 3 stages before it reaches royal assent. So it's almost there. And it's setting a dangerous precedent for mass surveillance, erosion of privacy, and the automatic assumption that all our digital footprints belong to the government and corporate stakeholders, basically. So nothing is private anymore. One of the most alarming aspects of this bill is its retrospective data access provisions. Unlike previous data laws that required a specific justification for data collection, this one grants the government access to historical data that predates the law itself, which is unbelievable. So, everything that you've done in the past, every transaction, financial transaction you've ever made, everything you've ever looked at online, your health data, your financial data, everything can be scrutinized from the past. So, if you thought it was private before it existed, this will now be fair game for scrutiny, storage, and monetization. I mean, all of this is clearly, it's a new currency. Data is the new gold, as we know. This is why these big data centers are popping up all over the place. This is the new currency, the new gold. This level of government overreach contradicts basic privacy principles and puts UK people under permanent digital surveillance. And once the data is accessible, there's no real safeguards preventing any kind of misuse of it. So One of the most deceptive elements I find of this bill is the claim that removing cookie consent pop-ups will somehow benefit us by reducing consent fatigue, they call it. The government presents this as a benefit or convenience, making it appear as though they're sparing users from the clicking through consent permission requests. However, in reality, it's designed to eliminate the ability for you to refuse the data collection. And they use this term consent fatigue. I mean, that's quite chilling, actually. It's almost as though you're so tired of giving your consent. Just take my data and do with it what you like. I'm just a faceless number in your ever-growing data set. I mean, it's unbelievable. Under these new rules, websites and third-party stakeholders would no longer need explicit consent to track users. Your browsing habits, preferences, location, financial transactions, and biometric data would become, default assets openly shared across corporate and governmental networks. The idea is that this is a public service, and it's not just misleading; it's Orwellian. There's so many abuses. The role in future stakeholder capitalist systems, which they're trying to bring in, the CBDC and the digital currency. All of this is there for them to take, and it's a world where, our credit score will be coming into play. And as if we needed more evidence that Starmer is cozying up with the EU, it aligns perfectly with the EU digital identity laws. Because when we left the EU, we didn't automatically, we're not subjected to their data control laws that they're pushing on all the 27 other countries. So we're supposed to be free of all that, but instead our own government is aligning with Brussels under this UK-branded version of it. So it paves the way for data to be weaponized against the people. Unbelievable. So, what can we do? Well, we can demand transparency. We can appeal to, for whatever good it will do, appeal to our MPs. I think we have to also really, in our own sovereign way, are we consenting to this? I don't know how that works. What we've got to do is raise awareness about it. And I have created a template, which hopefully will be in the show notes, to send to your MPs, because it did bide us more time with the CAN bill, and I believe there are good people in Parliament. If we don't push back now, the UK's data framework could become one of the most intrusive and authoritarian in the Western world. Privacy isn't necessarily about what you have to hide; it's what can they use it against you? Can they use it against you? And this is what we have to ask ourselves. And yeah, it's a very, very pernicious act and bill. Yeah.
Thank you, Sandy. And of course, I've hinted or said the words in the past that we as individuals are being farmed by corporates and increasingly by the state as well. And data is very much, as you say, becoming a currency. This legislation, just enables the free export of whatever they choose to other countries as well. There are massive implications for it, as you say, and we'll be talking much more about that in Extra, I've no doubt. But let's move on. Thank you very much to everybody that is helping the UK column keep going. We do need your ongoing support. So if you are able to make a donation or join as a member, support.ukcolumn.org is the place to go for that. Or if you go to the UK column shop, you can pick something up there. And if you pick something up from clivetocarl.com, if you're into health products, we do get a small commission from anything that you pick up there, so long as you use that link. But please, if you can't do any of that, please do at least share the material that we provide, because that is how we get around the censorship regime. Now, another reminder of a date for your diary, Saturday the 5th of April 2025, UK column on location in Cheltenham. We do encourage as many people as possible to come to this. It's going to be a fantastic day, Charles.
It is indeed, and in actual fact it bears very close relation to a lot of what we're discussing today, which on the face of it is parliamentary legislation, but of course it is all influenced from elsewhere and indeed will benefit organizations elsewhere. And the theme for our event is going to be the machinations of the deep state. So I really would encourage you to consider that and its significance upon your life and join us for what will be an incredible day.
Absolutely. Catherine Gunn, of course, a whistleblower, ended up in court.
Yep. Absolutely. And more speakers to announce, but obviously Alex Thompson and Patrick Henningsen there as well.
Yes, brilliant. Thank you, Charles. Now let's, yesterday's interview was Brian speaking to Iolanda. And so this is the next in the series, Child Snatching by the State. And he's speaking to Iolanda about her experience of having a newborn baby taken from her and the bullying from state-sanctioned organisations. If you didn't see that yesterday, please do have a look at it. And tomorrow at 1 p.m, we've got an interview with Kathy Mudge. So Diane speaking to Kathy. She is founder and member of protectteach.co.uk, and they are talking about the work they are doing with schools and libraries to expose various agendas, including the trans agenda, making the way into those organisations. And they're also discussing a range of other organisations and how they're working within the school system. So that's at 1 p.m. tomorrow, if you possibly can. Now, let's come back, Charles, onto sort of war matters and, well, related matters.